Hello everybody, this is David Vallejo and today I'm gonna share a presentation with you that is called Revolutionizing Education, when we are gonna have a little view on how we use normally virtual resources in real life in order to learn something. So we're gonna have a review mainly on a project that we have been developed in the university, and also with the aim of this presentation is to receive some feedback about the experience you have had with the course in Alex Virtual. So first of all, this is the advanced organizer of the presentation, when we are gonna have a look of different points that are really important if we are speaking about virtual education. So first of all, we have something that I have called the two cities, that is a brief explanation on how we spend some time in real life, and also we spend time in virtual environments, and how these things can affect our learning process. Also, we're gonna have a look on the case of the social networks. That is a really good example on how we can improve the conditions we have right now. Then we have another point that is called Two Cities, One World. That is a description of the relation that virtual environments, those virtual environments, the relation they have with the real life and the city, I mean the physical one. Then I'm going to explain something that is called the Mükemmel core. That is a proposal we have for you in order to continue working together. And then the last part, that is the explanation of the whole thing, and how you can still continue participating in the courses of the university, and also how you can continue affecting the process in order to make it even better. So first of all, as we have to think about two cities, let's think first of all about the physical one, the city where you live all the time. So think about Colombia, Bogota mainly for our case, and then think about the time you spend in that city, the time you spend, for example, going to university, the time you spend with your friends, the time you spend going to cafes or whatever. So all that time represents the time you spend on that physical city. I mean, in all those activities that where you need transportation, where you need money to go from one place to another. And also take into account that these possibilities that this physical city offers are special. And then we're gonna make a little contrast with the opportunities that the virtual city offers. So first of all, we have one city, that is the physical one. I think we don't have problems in understanding that simple point. Then we have to take into account the second city, that is the virtual one. So when we speak about virtual environments, of course we speak about internet. It is interesting to see how, like 10 years ago more or less, or even more, people were thinking all the time about how internet would affect deeply the communication in general terms, how internet would be a revolution in terms of communication. So most of us can remember that 10 or 15 years ago, people was thinking all the time about how someday they would be able to use a camera with a microphone, and to use those tools in order to speak with someone in another country. And it was something really shocking, simply amazing to think that it could be possible someday. But now this is not really shocking. I mean, now those kind of things are completely normal for all of us, and we perfectly know that this is like real life, that we use those tools, that we use internet to communicate with people from all over the world, and that's something normal. So right now we don't think just about it. So far in this point, we have to understand that internet will be there for a long time, even for forever, and it would represent it's gonna represent a revolution for communication all the time. But we also have to think right now, not simply about how internet affects communication, but also what is the future of internet, and what are the new tendencies in order to work with internet. So that's what we have to think about, the future of internet. And here we have a good example of what is the future for internet. So social networks, and the case of social networks is a really good example on how internet is being developed constantly. So most of you perfectly know how social networks work. So I think it's not really necessary to spend a lot of time explaining, but basically what we have to say is that social networks represent a really big change in communication and in the development of internet, because it is not just a group of people working for all the world. Like think about the developers of big companies some years ago, for example, where there was a group of people working all the time in order to provide services, in order to provide information for people all over the world. But right now, social networks use a completely different model, because what they do is to provide tools. I mean, that group of people, the developers of the program, provide a model to people all over the world to work with. So what they have to do, I mean, the normal people like us, we receive that model of a social network, and we use it in order to make whatever we want. So think about MySpace or Facebook, where you receive a model, where you receive a bunch of possibilities, to say that way, and then you start to work on that. So that's a good example of what is the future of internet. Instead of being just a group of people providing information for everyone, it is people all over the world working together, posting information and giving feedback all the time to those programs. So that's one of the best examples we have to take into account in order to figure out what is the future for internet. So so far it is completely clear that we have like two cities: the physical one, the one that you perfectly know, what you normally know as a city, and also the virtual one. So when we think about the virtual one, we think about the time we spend in internet, in the time you spend in your messenger, in the Facebook, with checking your mail, or also here, for example, in the Alex course, receiving your lesson. So all that time that you spend in internet with your computer is the time you spend in a virtual city. You also receive a specific information, a special information from that city. So that's why I think it is important to identify that it is somehow another city, because you do almost all those things that you also do in the physical one. You can speak with people, you can receive information, you can study, you can visit places. So that's why I think it is important to call it that way. So we have two cities, the physical one and the virtual one. But of course they are, I mean, even if they have special characteristics, they depend one on the other completely. So if we perfectly know that we live in two cities, spending time in the physical world, in the real world, and also spending time in those virtual environments, it would be nice to know how to use virtual resources in real life.